Welcome to cloth buttons. I really enjoy these. They're a lot of fun. They're really easy to make. I've taught at least 3 classes on them now, and I thought that since I have a little bit of time, I would take some time to teach a small tutorial on YouTube. So this is the size glass I used to make my cloth buttons. You can even see the pen marks on the bottom of the glass. These are 100% linen fabric. This is, I believe, Autumn. I got it from fabricstore.com. Fabricstore.com. I love that place. If I were making them for my current project, I would use this gold pearl cotton, but because I wanted you to be able to see it easily, I'm going to do it in a contrasting color. I have already waxed my thread. This is the same weight pearl cotton. I got it at Joann's. They're about $2.99 for a skein right now. Their price has gone up. You take a little bit of wax and you wax your thread. I actually generally wax my thread before I even put it on the needle. I run it over really good. I get it nice and well waxed. I put a knot in the end. There we go, 1 knot. Now this is really simple. You just go around your circle. I do about 1/4 of an inch, I guess. I leave myself a little tail at the end. I've seen tutorials that don't. That's fine. I have just found there's a few neat little tricks that I do with mine that I like to share. I'm all about sharing tricks. If you have them, share them. There's no, in my opinion, proprietary knowledge in this kind of stuff. I guess everybody has their own way of looking at things. So this one had a little bit of a fold. I just kind of ignore the fold and I just keep working around. This is the inside of your button, so that I don't worry so much about it being even per se. Some people are a little bit more particular than I am. That's okay. So I have my end here and my end here. I just gather my ends. I kind of wrap them around my thumb, kind of like that. So you have like a thumb thing there. So I try to make sure my gathers are relatively even around. They don't have to be perfect. I make sure that I can puff it out, stick my finger in and puff it out a little bit, and then I start to press it down just a little bit. Pull my gather again, just so that I can even it up. And this is the part that I don't ever see anywhere, but I like to do it. I take my 2 ends and I put a knot, and then I cut off the extra bit. And so then if I put my button down, my current gather is not going to disappear. And I don't know how many of you have cats, but I have a cat. And even though he's fairly good about staying out of my things, occasionally he decides one of the things he's going to play with is there. So I try to find tricks that if I'm at a stopping point in a project, things that I can secure it with, that if he does get hold of it, it doesn't ruin it. Okay, so I'm moving on to the second portion of the button. I'm going to gather again. And I have made my little pocket and then I flattened it out. It's just a finger press. I've gone to the extreme of ironing these before, and by the way, that is completely pointless. There's no use in doing that. You're just fiddling with it and it doesn't really make a difference in the end product of your button. And excuse my stuffy nose, I've got a kiddo who gave me a cold, so I might sound like I have a little bit of a stuffiness going on here. So you move around your button. I do try to keep my stitches kind of small in this process. I do notice that the bigger your stitches, kind of your button gets kind of a squee-jawed look to it. So I've gone all the way around. Now I use my thumb and I press in the middle as I gather, just so that my button actually gathers in the correct direction. And then you end up with this little mushroom thing. Now, as you probably have presumed, you can make your button bigger by using a larger circumference and folding it more than 2 times. You could fold it 3 or 4 times depending on how large your circumference is. Now, this is the key part so that your button doesn't come apart. Go to the opposite side and gather it. I like to do 2 initially. You're just gathering opposite sides. And then I turn it again and gather the opposite side. And I do that twice. And it does get kind of stiff, but that's okay. Now that waxed thread is really important at this stage because you're really doing a lot of tugging and pulling on this button to make it tight and secure it. And if your thread is not waxed, a lot of times at this stage your thread breaks. I have also found that you can use regular sewing thread to make cloth buttons, but I'm going to caveat that with it needs to be very well waxed, and you really can't pull on it as much as I'm pulling on this, and it will not make as strong a button, and you will end up probably having to use a stronger pearl cotton or silk or upholstery thread to create the shank, which is built into the button if you just use the pearl cotton like what I've done. Now I have also used a heavier silk or heavier linen thread that's very much like this pearl cotton, and they work as well, but again you need to wax it. So I've gone back and forth. I've created this little nub at the bottom and a shank that I can sew it to a garment, and here is my cloth button. And it's a little squishy because I like to have mine have a little squish to them. Some people like theirs much harder, which makes a smaller button, which is fine. At this point, I have seen people, they have made enough of these that they've gone back and created designs on the end of their fabric, like small embroidery pieces, and then made their cloth button, and they have pictures on them, and that's always lots of fun. You can do anything you want with the cloth button. You can use them on pants, doublets, shirts, dresses, coats. You can also stuff them if you want to. I like the plain cloth button all by itself. Makes it so it matches anything that I've made with that fabric. I can make them any size. So now it's your turn. Have fun.